What is going on, you guys? This is All Danny Did One on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you another Assassin's Creed Odyssey build video. And with this build video I'm going to be giving you the Spinderella build. The Spinderella build is going to rely heavily on having a heavy axe, so it's not going to really work for any other build because it just won't match the name. And plus, honestly, to me, the heavy axe charged attack is definitely going to be the best way to go. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the gear first. So for my helmet, I have it's got warrior damage, crit chance while full health, 40% chance to ignore half damage, 50% crit damage. Gloves, warrior damage, crit chance, crit damage while full health, and then base crit damage on the engrave. The torso has warrior damage, 20% damage with heavy attacks or heavy weapons, 30% damage with heavy bladed weapons, and then all resistance. You can, now if you want, you can throw on that 50% crit damage instead of the all resistance. I just threw on the all resistance so I have a little bit more defense or more resistance in terms of survivability, because I'm not running any other sort of resistance type of abilities, not abilities but stats. But if you think you don't really need the all resistance and you just want to pump out more and more and more damage, then go with that 50% crit damage instead. And then on the waist, crit damage, warrior damage, crit damage while full health, crit chance, and then the Nemean Lion engrave. If you don't have the Nemean Lion engrave, don't worry, you don't necessarily need it. You can always throw something else on. I believe there's a 50% crit damage. I'm not exactly sure, but you can always just throw something else on that will help you out with more damage output. Or you can just throw on the warrior damage, since you can put warrior damage on the engrave as well, even if it has warrior damage. Anyway, so with the legs, these are just my basic boots that I always wear for pretty much all of my warrior builds, but it's got the assassin damage, crit chance while full health, crit damage while full health, and warrior damage. What you would want to do, since you're not going to be doing assassin damage, is you want to have the warrior damage at the top, and then if you can, probably get the slow time effect, where when you're in slow time you do 10% more damage or something like that. I believe you can get that on the boots. But if you can't, if you don't have any other engraves that would really work for you, then just throw warrior damage on that engrave slot. Now for the weapons, I'm using the Minotaur's Labrys, which you'll get this from defeating the Minotaur, and it gives you warrior damage, crit damage, and then -1 adrenaline cost for overpower abilities. You're not going to worry about that though. You're not going to be really using your overpower ability at all, to be honest. I mean, at least I don't really find myself doing it, but you can, since overpower attacks on the heavy axes or heavy blades are actually pretty good. And you're going to throw in that 50% melee charge speed, which means you're going to need to have the First Blade DLC, because that's going to come from the Sword of Kings. The Sword of Kings is going to give you that 50% melee charge speed. And then you're going to want to use Staff of Trismegistus. So you can either use Staff of Trismegistus, or you can use, I believe it's the Polyphemus Cyclops Bludgeon, which you get this from defeating the Cyclops mythical creature. I don't remember his name, but the Thunderer or something like that, Brontes, that's what it is. So you're gonna have to defeat Brontes to get this this weapon. And the reason why this is a pretty good weapon instead of the Staff of Trismegistus is because it gives you that heavy bladed attack, heavy bladed damage, plus that 25% damage on elites and bosses is really, really good. And then throw on 50% crit damage, so you're doing even more damage with that. You'll be pretty much one-shotting enemies with this. But you know, just for survivability wise, Staff of Trismegistus is gonna be better because of the 40% chance to ignore half damage. And then I did throw on that 50% crit damage as well. And then for the bow, it has warrior. You want to get warrior damage, crit chance, all damage, and then throw in that 30% armor pen if you want. You can do that, or the 30% damage at full health. But I'd recommend the 30% armor penetration. Now, to look at the stats, I am at 253% warrior damage, 33% assassin, 9% is hunter, and then 74% in the heavy bladed weapons. But if I were to add on the bludgeon, then I'd be a lot higher. I'd be in the hundreds already. So there's that. And then 100% crit chance while full health, 637% crit damage while full health, which is pretty good for only 150 ability points, because that's all I'm using for this build is 150 ability points. I will also show you what it would look like with about 1200 ability points slotted and 24% adrenaline per crit. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the abilities. So 150 ability points is only being spent, so this is the cheapest route of going about with it. So you're going to want to max out Second Wind, max out Sparta Kick, max out Gear Master, Weapons Master, 1 point into overpower attacks. You're not going to be using the overpower attacks, but you're going to put that 1 point into it so you can get Battlecry of Ares. So with Battlecry of Ares, you can do more damage as well as not take or not die pretty much. And then you're going to just go ahead and get slow time. The reason why you're not going to get elemental effects is because you're not going to have enough elemental buildup in the first place to even apply the fire damage or poison damage. And by the time you hit the enemy with the second swing of your first heavy attack, oh, that reminds me, you need to also get charged heavy attack. But by the time you hit them, they're going to be dead. So applying the flame attacks or poison attacks isn't going to really help you as much. And then for your masteries, you're going to go 8 out of 20 on crit chance, 10 out of 20 on crit damage, and that's it for the hunter tree. And then the warrior tree, you're going to go 12 out of 20 on warrior, 12 out of 20 on weapon or damage with heavy bladed attacks or weapons, and then 8 out of 20 on damage dealt, restored as health. And then for the assassin tree, it's going to be 12 out of 20 on crit chance while full health, 14 out of 20 on crit damage while full health, 8 out of 20 on damage while full health, 12 out of 20 for chance to ignore half damage, 8 out of 20 on adrenaline per crit, 8 out of 20 on health gained per adrenaline spent, and then 8 out of 20 on damage on elites and bosses. And that is all you're going to go for, because that would cap you out at 150 ability points. Now, if you have more ability points, obviously you're going to be able to have a bigger options. You're going to have more options, but this is for those of you that are around 150 ability points and just want to know exactly what to go for. But that's pretty much it. And the transmog, I guess I could show you for the little quote-unquote Spinderella transmog. It's gonna be like this. So I'm using the Perseus crown, I'm using the celestial arms to kind of get that little princess gloves going on. And then for the chest piece, I'm using the robes for ritual, which is the Dionysus chest piece. The waist I have is going to be Persian Warrior's waistband, and then the boots is going to be Climbing Vine Greaves, which is the Dionysus boots. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and show you what points, or pretty much everything I'm using with the 1200 plus ability points now. Alright, so it's kind of a little bit different with the with this one for the 1200 plus ability points now. Everything is the same except I'm using this now because I don't necessarily need the Staff of Trismegistus with this type of build, because I'm at 60% chance to ignore half damage, but I do also have pretty high resistance in comparison to the other one where I only had 15% and 24% range resistance, but I was pretty close to 100%. I think I was at 98% or 96% chance to ignore half damage. But with my stats, I'm at 104% crit chance, which doesn't matter. 100% and higher is the same, but 700% crit damage while at full health, which is really good. and then at 110% heavy bladed weapons damage, which is really, really, really good. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the abilities that I'm using. Not the abilities that I have, because obviously I have all of them, but the abilities I'm using Sparta Kick for some reason. Sparta Kick is very, very strong. I'm not exactly sure why. It's really, really powerful. It tends to one-shot the enemies a lot. And then I'm using Shield Breaker, so, you know, if enemies are getting annoying or something, even though the charged attack is going to still break enemy shields, it's still a nice little thought to have. And also, the Shield Breaker can hit really hard as well, just like the Sparta Kick. And then I'm using the enhanced Ares Bull Charge instead of the regular Bull Charge, just so I can hit multiple enemies at ranged. And then I'm using Ring of Chaos, so if there's way too many enemies and I'm almost dead or I need to get a bunch of health back, I can just use Ring of Chaos, because technically it works kind of like second wind when there's a bunch of enemies. When you have that like damage, or I guess health return from damage or whatever it's called. And then for my other tree, my weapon tree, I'm using Flaming Attacks, because what I've tested so far, flaming attacks seem to benefit more for this versus the poison or the venomous attacks. Plus, if I put the enemies on fire and they're still alive after I swing at them, they're going to end up getting killed from the fire ticks. And then I'm using slow time, just like normally, and then second wind as well, just so I can take off the elemental effects that hit me, or if I'm at a very low health, I'll be able to heal myself to full health. And then I'm using the regular Battlecry of Ares, not the enhanced version, because I don't have a high amount of assassin damage to really make use of this, so I'm just going to use the regular Battlecry of Ares, so I just do 50% more damage for 20 seconds with the charged attacks, as well as being able to heal myself back to full health and whatnot. And then for the Hunter tree, I'm using Might of Artemis, so I can get that extra crit damage and melee damage if I end up using this. Sometimes I just don't even bother using it because I'm not really used to using it, but it is something I would recommend using if you do have it. Now for the masteries, the ones that I would recommend focusing on the most, so I do pretty much have all of them, but the ones I would recommend using the most or maxing out first, you want to max out first, is going to be the crit chance, crit damage, and then ranged resistance, elemental buildup, and then that's it for the hunter tree. Now for the warrior tree, the health restored as parry, or health restored on successful parry, melee charge speed, damage after parry, warrior damage, the heavy bladed weapons, and pretty much any of the defense ones, so health, armor, melee resistance, maybe fire damage, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Armor penetration, damage per enemy engaged is going to be very nice on this, and then damage dealt restored as health. And that would be pretty much it for the warrior tree. And then for the assassin tree would be the damage whenever time is slowed, you get 10% more damage. The maybe damage after perfectly timed dodge, because you get 20% extra damage if you get those perfect timed dodges, but not a lot of people tend to dodge as much or worry about getting perfect dodges. And then adrenaline on parry is also really nice to have as well, so that way you don't have to worry about building up all that parry or all that adrenaline from just base damage. And then max out that crit chance while full health, crit damage while full health, damage while full health, chance to ignore half damage, elemental resistance, adrenaline per hit, adrenaline per crit, and adrenaline or health gain per adrenaline spent, damage on elites and bosses, chance to deal 25% assassin damage. And then these would be the last two: cooldown to all abilities and damage when attacking from behind. So I know that's a lot of abilities, but like I said, this is for people who are pretty much over 1,000 ability points, or like 700, 800 ability points. So I just made you guys a build guide on 150 ability points and 1,000 ability points, or 1,000 plus ability points. So that's pretty much it with this video. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys both clips for 150 ability points versus 1,000 ability points, or 1,000 plus ability points. Now, obviously there's going to be quite a difference. There's going to be a pretty big difference in damage, but it's not too bad, because the 150 ability points is still going to be doing a lot of damage regardless. It's still a really good build for this. But anyways, if this video helped you out, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section, as well as I'll try my best to answer it to the best of my abilities. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. This is all Dinny Day 1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.
Wash our swords in their blood!
Test your skills against me! They will think of your death on this day!